The strangest thing happening around Portugal right now is not Cristiano Ronaldo missing chances. It's not his numbers. It's not even the results. It's the feeling around the team. Because when insiders start saying players are getting frustrated, when whispers start turning into discussions, and discussions start turning into visible moments on the pitch, football stops being about tactics. It becomes something else. It becomes a dressing room problem. And dressing room problems are dangerous because by the time fans notice them, they've usually been growing for a long time. Portugal were supposed to arrive with one of the most talented squads in international football. Look at the names: Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leão, João Neves, Vitinha. Players everywhere. Technical players, creative players, fast players, players entering their prime years. On paper, this team should feel terrifying. But then something strange keeps happening. Portugal start games with movement, energy, quick passing. There are combinations, runs into space, possibilities. Then slowly, the rhythm changes. Everything starts looking more predictable. The ball starts moving toward one destination, one player, one idea, one responsibility. And suddenly the question becomes uncomfortable. Is Portugal still building a team, or are they building a farewell tour? Because that's where the conversation becomes dangerous. Cristiano Ronaldo's status in football is untouchable. 5 Ballon d'Ors, hundreds and hundreds of goals, moments that built an entire generation of football fans. Nobody debates the legacy, nobody can, but legacy and current reality are not always the same thing, and insiders around Portugal are reportedly suggesting something that would have sounded impossible a few years ago, that some players are becoming tired of the situation. Not because they dislike Ronaldo, that's the important part. Not because they don't respect him, actually the opposite, because they respect him so much that nobody wants to say anything. And sometimes silence creates bigger problems than conflict. Think about the pressure inside that environment. Imagine being Bruno Fernandes, a player who controls tempo, creates chances, sees passes nobody else sees. Imagine being Bernardo Silva, constantly moving between spaces. Imagine having younger players trying to establish themselves on the biggest stage. Now imagine every attack carrying an invisible instruction: find Cristiano, find Cristiano, find Cristiano, again, because football changed. And this is where things start getting uncomfortable. Modern football became brutal, relentless pressing, constant movement, rotations, systems where everybody moves, everybody presses, everybody sacrifices. Look at the teams dominating world football. They're fluid, their forwards drift wide, midfielders attack spaces, nobody stays still, nobody waits. Everything is movement, everything is intensity, and Portugal know this. They absolutely know this, which creates another question. If everybody sees where football is going, why does Portugal sometimes look like they're driving in the opposite direction? Because numbers create problems that emotions cannot hide. Possession can lie, crowd reactions can lie, narratives can lie, numbers usually don't. And critics have pointed towards stretches where Portugal dominate possession yet create surprisingly little with it. Long periods where the ball moves but danger doesn't. Long periods where players circulate around the edge of the final third without anything actually happening. The attack looks busy. Busy isn't the same as dangerous. Those are two different things, and then people started noticing something else: body language. Because body language is where football fans become detectives. A pass not played, hands thrown into the air, players looking away, moments after attacks break down. Small moments, tiny moments, the kind nobody talks about individually. But football fans don't watch one moment, they watch hundreds. And when hundreds of tiny moments start feeling similar, people start building conclusions. Suddenly social media started filling with questions. Why did he ignore that run? Why did he pass there? Why does Bruno look frustrated? Why does Bernardo look irritated? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe fans are imagining things. Except that's where another problem appears, because this isn't the first time. People immediately started remembering 2022. They remembered the moment Fernando Santos made the biggest decision imaginable: bench Ronaldo. At the time it felt shocking, insane even, the biggest player in Portuguese football history sitting out. But then something happened that complicated everything. Portugal suddenly looked different. Movement increased, the attack felt lighter, there was energy, and for a moment people started asking a question nobody wanted to ask out loud. Does Portugal function better without him? That question disappeared quickly because nobody wanted to touch it, because touching it means touching football royalty. But difficult questions don't disappear, they wait, and now they're back again. Except this time the stakes feel larger, because Ronaldo is no longer 32, he's no longer 35. He's approaching a reality every athlete eventually meets. The body negotiates with time for years. Then one day, time stops negotiating, and football has no mercy for that. No mercy at all. The scary part is that nobody inside Portugal can handle this like a normal football decision, because normally if a player struggles, you bench him. Simple. Fans complain for a few days, media talks about it, then football moves on. But Cristiano Ronaldo isn't normal. Benching him isn't tactical. It's political. It's emotional. It's historical. You're not removing a striker. You're removing an institution. And that's an impossible situation for a manager. Because imagine the alternative. Imagine Roberto Martinez benches Ronaldo. If Portugal lose, he's finished. Immediately. Nobody remembers tactics. Nobody remembers systems. Everyone remembers one thing. You benched Cristiano Ronaldo. But imagine the opposite. Imagine he keeps playing him no matter what. Imagine performances stay flat. Imagine younger players continue sacrificing parts of their own game. Imagine frustration keeps growing. Now the criticism becomes even bigger, because now people start asking whether Portugal chose loyalty over winning. And that's the trap. There may not be a good option anymore. Only bad options with different consequences. Officially, of course, everything always sounds fine. Players respect Ronaldo. Managers